Wasteland soldier. These are the days of our lives, I've been struggling, hustling, thugging it forever. Me in my yard. I've been struggling, hustling, thugging it forever. Me in my yard. I've been struggling, hustling, thugging it forever. Me in my yard. I've been struggling, hustling, thugging it forever. Only time will tell you that. Only time will tell. Come look deeply in my eyes. See the murder mold the lies. These are the days of our lives. Now come into my world, you can see that we are more than done, with just a little twist of harmony, but smoking lethal warriors. Now come into my world, you can see that we are more than done, with just a little twist of harmony, but smoking lethal warriors.
Turning your thugs, here I come telling them soldiers yours. New daily collecting my lesson without any question, stressing, no resting. We journey this blessing, shifting the game, rearranging things. Once the world was bringing me down, mesmerized, controlled by the other side. The devil was in my town, looking for me,
but it won't get me in time. Fuckin' with bone, let it lock in, it rhyme, we rhyme. Better believe it's all the time, nigga, we lie. We straight up soldiers, ready to get them soldiers. We raw before we go roll, nigga, we riding y'all, all of y'all. Yo, my dogs, if you call or you fall, you can bet on that nigga, wait a minute, I will be there. Lean on me, but let us get rid of the enemy, nigga, be singing a wild. But if you think you can praise my name, you can see that we are more than with just a little twist of harmony, but smoking lethal warriors. Now come into my world, you can see that we are more than with just a little twist of harmony, but smoking lethal warriors.
Putting in the studio, y'all know we roll hydro every time we rhyme. I'm high, look at me deeply in my eyes. I ride to the top of the game, no way that I had to run, no way that I had to turn, shine. But a lot of these niggas won't learn, but the money that I earn won't burn, so come again.
Better watch that magic, nigga, this one's for me and my friends. We steadily rolling, I told you, keep bringing on platinum and gold. Pat, put it all on the ground, yeah, phone. Yeah, we used to get down. When they clap back, put it on the ground, I get down.
Well, must be balls to draw when I'm rolling and looking low, turning on my windows, a little easy blessings, so it's so proud. Never take out stress for the peeps, the streets, and none of these homies, know me, still when I'm cuffed up, bitch, no.
Come into my world, you can see that we are more than done, with just a little twist of harmony, but smoking lethal warriors. Now come into my world, you can see that we are more than done, with just a little twist of harmony, but smoking lethal warriors.
In the mystery, the pistol beat, I better put it in the Mercedes. Better rip the scriptures, sister. Race me, I want me with the city in. Baby, double be up and get one for my friend. Twin, living numbers on the fin of the fin. So, who wanna bag, you wanna bag, you got a bag, so send it out of the dog. Tell the niggas down for the best to crowd. All my luck and tell dies. So pick up the puzzle and piece it and put it together by life.
My Lord, maintain it's hard cause I'm a soldier at war. Cause everybody wanna try to bring up the devil in me, but the evil's the better than these. We keeps me at ease. Take note, cause here it comes. Never them all coming to carry you. End up in the ship and they pulling the cage out, babe. They put it up to your temple and they blow your brains out. You can see that we are more than done. With just a little twist of harmony, but smoking lethal warriors. just a little twist of form and hope us smoking little warriors. Now coming to my room to see the murder borderline. These are the days of our lives. When I get up every morning, it doesn't feel like it's.
Definitely by both of us. Let me get my guest up here, and we're going to get this. We're going to get some. Well, not my guest, but a panel member. We're going to get this conversation started. Waiting for a few other panel members to get into the room as well. But welcome to State of the Melanin Address. This one is going to be a special one this morning. This is our reparations conversation. Brother William, can you hear me okay? Because I can't
Yeah,
hear
I'm sorry.
you.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I had it on mute and I
Okay.
was trying to push it. I was trying to push it. It took me a minute to get to it.
I
I'm
was
here.
wondering why I wasn't here.
Yeah, I'm here. In spite of all the
Yeah, for
problems
some
that's
reason
trying to
my
overwhelm me.
controls are delayed. Yes, and I
You're breaking up. I can't hear you now. I can't hear you now. I can't hear you, Courtney. In case somebody else could hear you, I can't hear you. Now I can't hear you. Okay. I hear you.
You're back? All right, great. I'm back. What's you're back. I'm back. So, can you hear me okay?
I hear you okay now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, my controls are a little delayed. I want to make sure that, hey, Naima, I see you're in here. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to make sure that Brother Palmetto got in okay. So that's what I was checking for as well. And we're supposed to have a special guest on, but it seems like he might be not able to join us at the moment. So there we are. Okay. We're all cool now. Hi. All right. So we're going to be discussing the reparations conversation. Y'all see, I got on my Malcolm frames today. Thank you so much, brother. I got on my Malcolm frames. So we're going to be having the reparations conversation, and I definitely wanted to go through a couple of things in regards to the reparations conversation. But first and foremost, let y'all know what I'm drinking. We're supposed to be having it's supposed to be a soda strike, a soda boycott. So this
Like
is
that.
sparkling water, polar.
Okay.
Grapefruit though. Okay. Let y'all know what I'm sipping on this AM. Keeping that mind fresh. Thank you so much again, Naima, for being in here with us. Okay, so brother Dukes.
Yes.
Putting our Dukes up.
Yes.
The three parts of this reparations conversation that we're going to be focusing on is the distribution. Because as you know, there's some discussion of who should it be distributed to. Do you have to be a descendant of slavery? or can you just be an African American person? There's a big dispute going on when it comes to that. So that's the first part. The second part of the question is, how should reparations be distributed? Should it be monetized? Should it be free education? Should it be no taxes? Should it be land? Okay. And then the last part, but definitely not least, how much? How much are we talking? Okay. So since you are first in the room, I'm going to cam off, and I'm going to open this cam and mute up, and I'm going to open this definitely up to you specifically. And so that's a three-parter. The three
Okay.
parts are, again, who should receive it, what should be received, and how much. Because the question
Who?
of reparations is not if, it's a matter of when and how. Okay, that is the question here. We are not entertaining with this particular body, with this particular platform, a question of should we be getting reparations. I'm not. If that's your question, quite frankly, you're cooning, and you need to stay up off of this platform, because this is the no coon zone over here. It is not a question of should we be getting it, and how can we. Don't even play with me. All right. So go ahead, Brother William. I'm going to cam and mute up.
Okay. Okay. So my position pretty much is, when it comes down to the distribution part, I do want to say this, that our nation needs to first change the perspective on how reparations should be obtained. Okay. And what I mean by that is that we should turn to one another to repair ourselves, and then seek repair from the systems. Because same thing happened to the Japanese. They, after they United States dropped the bomb on them, destroyed their cities and so on and so forth, they started to repair themselves. And as they repaired themselves, then the United States turned around right behind, they repaired themselves, and then gave them reparations. So I think we should change our perspective on how reparations is to be obtained by us. We should repair ourselves. Secondly, the distribution, who we should get it. We should be the ones that are ex-slaves. We should get a distribution of land and real power, real political power. We should get the system should assist us in forming our own army and our own government. They should assist us. That's the reparations that I believe that we should push for. Secondly, number two, and I hope I'm answering it at least to the best of my ability. How you say, how are we going to receive it? Distribution. How much, you say? No, no. Number two is, how are we? What money? What material?
Right. In
Right.
what form? In what
Yeah. What
form?
form?
Should it
Okay.
be
Yeah. Yeah.
should it be
So land.
financially? Should it be
Yeah.
education? Should it be no taxes? In what form?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Land. Material. When you think of material and what form, I think of land and money. But really, to me, I believe we should receive a reparation in the form of anything that contributes to material gain, anything materially, like, for instance, a government of our own, anything relating to an independence, a sovereignty of our own. So the government should assist us with our own sovereignty. So I know we have to take on our own sovereignty, but at the same time, I'm saying if they're going to be assisting to us or help us repair ourselves, it's going to have to be in the area of helping us become sovereign. So providing us with government knowledge and how to write constitutions of our own, how to form our own army and military. So, and the separation of states, having our own state, we have that right. So I say perspective is very important, because when you have a perspective that you need to be completely independent and be sovereign, then your reparations request from the government or your appeal won't be necessarily give us this or that. It will be help me get my own system. So that's the best assistance that we can get from them, because if they give us so much money, let's say thousands or millions, rather, or triquillions or whatever, we will probably blow it, And if we blow it, that means our mindset ain't set for independence. It ain't set for being sovereign. So the perspective has to change, I believe, on a national scale, that our nation needs to be sovereign. So again, if I answer your question, the strategy of the material would be, of course, land, money, and military, and government, and ownership, of state ownership. How much is a third question. That's a good question. The value to me is placed more so on how much independence they can help us with, just like I was saying earlier. So how much the money, the dollar amount, really ain't gonna be as effective as the mindset. So if you give me trillions and quadrillions of dollars and assist us in that way by just giving it to us, but yet our minds ain't repaired. We don't think and right. We're not united. We're divided. We got to learn how to be our own congressional body of thinking, solving our own problems. So there's so many things we got to do psychologically before we can actually take the funds and do any good with it. So, and it'd be a futuristic. It'll be making history. So if they gave us $1 zillion, we'll make history. But then how are we gonna? We don't know how to. We don't know how to use it. So we'll just spend it. That's all we'll probably do. Thinking it'll be a temporary satisfaction. You know. Again, I hope I answered the question. It's a really good question, and it's a really hard to answer question. But overall, I think it's a perspective on independence and sovereignty for our nation. How do we get some help materially? The more thing it would be to me helping us psychologically to be independent and sovereign, showing us how to form our own constitution, our own government, and having our own state. Same thing Elijah Muhammad was saying about having our own state. There's no way two people with two entirely opposite natures is going to really coexist without any real peace or any real progress. Not real progress, because we're not the same. We're totally different. We're not the same at all. It's like the Chinese and Japanese. Matter of fact, it's exactly like the Chinese and Japanese. They're entirely different. So the Chinese said, no, when they was ruled by the Japanese, no, you can't rule us. We need our own, you know? So that's the situation with us. We are entirely different in nature. So we need our own state. So they need to assist us in that form of reparations to help us form our own state. So that's why we got to have our own Congress, our own minds, our own, our own plans and our own perspective. So again, I hope I answered the question to the best of my ability. So that's all I got to say for now.
Well, thank you so much. I think that you brought up some very good points, Brother Dukes, especially with saying that if we're not going to be given independence from the government, then it's really kind of it's wasteful. It's a wasteful investment on everybody's part. Back to before I answer, because Brother Palmetto has not made it back on yet, and I know that he was running with a very tight schedule this morning as well. But before hopefully he'll be able to get in here. So before he gets in here, I want to just jump in and add my 2 cents to it. I used to, with all due respect, I used to very much say as well, oh, we're just gonna, too many of us we don't have a fiscal mindset because we've just never, most of the time people lose all their lottery winnings because they have not ever come into that type of money. They have never prepared to have that type of money. And I used to often say this in regards to, so my grandmother, as you all know, and we are celebrating literally we're celebrating her birthday was last month. It was Black History Month. Her birthday was the top of Black History Month. And she, of course, has been transitioned from this realm for now 15 years. But the reason why I bring her up whenever I'm talking about this money conversation is because my grandmother had, she was a wealthy woman. She had acquired a lot of wealth in regards to stocks and that sort of thing. It wasn't the traditional, she didn't go around using the traditional idea of, money. She was not always driving around the fanciest of cars and that sort of thing. But she, what they call it is she was stock rich. She had insurance policy, she had stocks and that sort of thing. And when she transitioned, we inherited She had bonds in our names. That's the way, Nanny, we called her Nanny Nikki. But also, not for nothing, she also, even though she wasn't the flashiest, we call her again Nanny Nikki. We knew she was well off. But even with that being said, we didn't have the conversations with her about money. And with that being said, even though she definitely had the money, I'm going to add Palmetto to the stream here, and then we're going to get his thoughts on this question next. But even though she had money, we didn't sit around having conversation about money and how to grow wealth and that sort of thing. And sometimes that can be a real detriment because, she was accumulating and she was building up, but we were not privy to this conversation. What she did do was she set up our own bank accounts. And I circled around, but I'm coming back to your statement in regards to, hey, we're just kind of all going to blow it if we just come into maybe that amount of money. I used to, for a long time, because of the fact that we did just what you said. When we got my grandmother's inheritance, I was, collectively we got almost close to $1 million. Individually, that broke down, how it broke down. It shakes down how it shakes down. I'm actually embarrassed to tell people how much I got, because how much I got, I should have something left. And I do not. I do not have not. I think, we had for a while, and I'm even embarrassed, of course, like I say, I'm embarrassed to share this, but for a while we did have it. We had a couple of thousand just for my daughter's college fund. And after the first 2 years in Miami, we even went through that. So, everything that I've accumulated now has literally been built back up between my businesses and my, in my careers. But we blew it, and we did get a house. So it wasn't like I was around getting bags and shoes, and I got that too. But that's not the only thing that I did get. We got a house. I was able to help a friend who she had her first child, and I was able to help her build. She wanted to build a nursery in her home. I helped her with her nursery, things like that. So it was just like, it wasn't like it was just like money that I literally just threw away. But I kind of feel like how MC Hammer did with his money. He put on, he invested in his friends and that sort of thing, and didn't pan out. But I think that we as a people, honestly, I know that we do need to have the fiscal training and the understanding of, economic power. But I think that we also as a people just need to decide that it don't matter. It don't matter what we do with the money. We just give us the money. It don't matter. Like I used to honestly be like, oh yeah, they're gonna spend da. Now I'm to the point, you know what? If he want to blow his money on rims and weed, let him blow his money on rims and weed. Okay. If he want to blow his money in a strip club, let him blow his money. Whatever way he or she is going to do with their money, that is their business. But the fact of the matter is that it belongs to us. So it don't matter. It's just the same way if you give $20 to someone, let's say that, I'm sorry, y'all, my cat is shaking this table. If you give $20 to someone that is homeless, a transient or what have you, you don't know what they're really going to do with that money. But you just give it with the intention that they're going to do it to get something that's going to help them, that is going to help them with the situation. And that's what I think the same thing needs to happen in relation to us and in relation to this conversation. I'm not over here. I'm not going to police nobody's dollars. I know what I'm going to do with mine. But I'm not over here to police anybody's dollars. Prayerfully, I can impart some wisdom to my children about what to do with their portion, but me personally, I had to get out of that feeling of thinking, oh, we got to have like organized, we got to be in unison with what we're going to do with the money. No, if someone wants to, like I said, I'm not going to I'm not going to go out and spend money on no weaves, obviously, but that if that's what somebody else wants to do, that's what's making them feel like, they have arrived and that's what they want to invest their money in, albeit as simple or as limited as thinking that may be. So what? As long as I don't affect the millions that I'm getting, I don't mind. All right, so Brother Palmetto, I'm going to shift it over to you now. We're answering this reparations conversation in 3 parts. The first part is, who should get the reparations? Should it be limited to people that were just descendants of chattel slavery, or should it be every Black person? Because the reason why this question is also gaining a lot of traction is because of there's a community called the BIPOC, which is the Black Indigenous People of Color. And Black Indigenous people of color didn't necessarily, some of them did, of course, but as it states right now, which is a huge number, y'all, as it states right now, they said up to 90% of the Black Americans that are in this country right now have descendants of slavery. That's humongous. So this is why I think it's always also so preposterous when people say, oh, well, who's to say that you were? It's mighty funny that when we were property, they kept such great records. But now that we not property no more, who's to say what y'all were doing and what da-da-da-da, as though we weren't shipped, weren't sold, weren't inbred in order to continue the economic infrastructure of this country. Please, okay, stop it. Stop the foolishness. So that's the first part. Who should be getting reparations? The second part of this question is, how should reparations be received? Should it be received in relation to land? Should it be actual physical money? Should it be Bitcoin? Should it be up to individuals how they want to receive it? Should it be, one person told me the other day that he wouldn't mind just having it in travel. He literally said, if I could just travel where I wanted to all the time, don't have to pay to go on trips. That's what I would rather do. That's the way I want my reparations. I just want to be able to travel. Okay. So, how would that shake down if that's the case? And then last but not least, how much? How much? So I'm going to cam off and go on mute, Brother Palmetto, while you chop this question up and you contribute your thoughts to this conversation. Thank you again, both of you gentlemen, for being a part of MX Media Group, the State of the Melanin Address. And again, if this is the first Saturday of the month, then you know what time it is. Put your X's up.
All right. Well, Black supremacy, reparations question is a great question. I loved how you guys broke it down in 3 parts. Well, ideally, and because reparations is right now a great idea, it's been on the table, but reparations opens a big can of worms for the people that would actually be paying in. So 3 parts. Okay. Indigenous Black people to America should receive reparations without a question of a doubt, from America. And those other people that were not discounting anybody else's slavery experience or whatever, because we were all separated by boat rides. We're just a boat ride separation from people that are in Jamaica or people that are in the Virgin Islands or any of those people. But I'm not discounting what they went through. However, the American government should pay American Black people reparations, and the other governments should pay their people reparations as well, because if we have to make sure it's absolutely 100% clear, slavery was a worldwide crime. It was a worldwide crime. So the people that all these different governments should pay their people. So the British government should pay the people of of the islands and the people and stuff like that. So American government should pay continental American Black people that are descendants of slaves, reparations, ideally. Um, Second part is um, how it should be spent. Is that the second one?
Yes, the second part is how it should be distributed. Should be distributed in education? Should it be left up to the person to decide? Should it
Oh,
be
yeah,
actual
yeah, yeah.
physical money, Bitcoin? It's a lot of, this
Okay.
is why I think they honestly all of these different versions of money. It's literally to distract us and confuse us from I want the original. Everyone knows how I stand on it. I want the land. Fuck all this Bitcoin and metaverse and all of this bullshit. I want the actual land. But
Yeah.
again, I digress. It's your question to answer. What are your thoughts and how it should be distributed? And then the last part, of course, is how much.
Ideally, land and resources, of course. But we gotta be so real with this. Unless we break from their monetary system, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter if they give you $3 billion each person. You know what I'm saying? They give Black people $3 billion a piece. Tomorrow, a loaf of bread will be $1 million. So we had to break from, like, look what's happening right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, how gas is up to $5 for some, just because they wanted to be. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it a buck. It's not because of Ukraine and all this war going on. It's not about that. It's not about. It's because they want to. They just want an excuse. Oh, you guys, truck convoy. $5 a gallon. Like, so so it's like that part where we got to break free from their monetary system, because as long as we are in that monetary system, as long as they're paying us, we're going to continue to be slaves. So resources, as far as that's concerned, and land, but really reparations should be paid in blood. Honestly, reparations should be paid in blood. Because you can't bring back the millions upon millions and probably billions of people that died because of the slave trade. So definitely there should be some reciprocity there. So how I want my reparations paid is in blood. You know, Bump all the other stuff, but yeah, land. And then we could get the land and resources once that side of the reparations is paid. Um, and then how much um, at the least $15 trillion, $15 trillion, and that is the first installment. If they're going to give us any sort of monetary. Of course, this is distributed around 15 trillion first installment, it distributed to the Black people, descendants of slavery, so to speak. So that should be the first installment, is the descendants of slavery, $15 trillion. Um, and that's the first installment. Reparations is something that it should be an ongoing thing, ideally. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, reparations opens the whole conversation of reparations, opens up a can of worms that they don't want to deal with, because once you start talking about stolen land and stolen wealth, then you're like, okay, are you still on stolen land? Are you still using stolen wealth? The answer to both of those questions are yes. Um, so then you're talking about, why are these pink people even here? Then you think further, like, would you be here in a free world, a free society? And the answer to that question is no. Pink people wouldn't even exist in a free society. So their actual existence is a war crime against Black people. You know what I'm saying? So they don't want to open up that can of worms, to where their existence is actually a war crime against Black people. If you see a pink person, that's a war crime. They only existed because they only exist right now because of the segregation, the the death and all of that stuff like that was put on against black people because of the of black people's dominant genes in a free society. Pink people would not exist, and they know this. That's why they segregate black people from them at first, where they go in everywhere around the world. They had to separate us because they know that in order to create a black a contingent of pink people, that they had to separate black people because if we mix in with their gene pool, then they would no longer be so-called white. So so does that answer the question?
Not only did it answer my question, see, I had to pull a hoodie up on it for that one. I said, yes, brother. I think that, Palmetto, you just hit something. And I know you said this before. We've had this conversation a couple of times. But to me, it hits differently for some reason this morning. I had a real, I had a couple of epiphanies the last couple of days. And I'll share more with you about them. But the fact of the matter is that I'll take it in blood, because if we take it in blood, the other stuff won't be in the way. You understand? If it's taken in blood, it literally entire generations, if entire families have to be sacrificed to make amends, to atone, then those families are the ones that are running the property. Those properties are the ones that are generating, that are creating infrastructure are giving support to the certain systems, that require, again, more exploitation of Black bodies. And I think what Palmetto said is so key and so on point in regards to the fact that anywhere white people have existed with Black people, it cannot be in a cooperative manner, because we have a dominant gene. And so inherently, there's always going to be a need for them to want to knock out the dominant gene. It's like, okay, it was like an ex I used to date, y'all. And the ex I used to date, he is a tall guy. He's a Black guy, of course, tall guy, big guy. And he did not understand that people saw him as a threat, because he was not like in the fighting. He wasn't into that. Like, he could fight, but he was not into that. And he was just like always like, yeah, so they put me in the back room. Like, they were always doing stuff to him to kind of minimalize him. And as a 6'4", dark skinned, broad shouldered dude, it was very obvious to me why they were doing that. It's like they have to have you thinking that you are small and insignificant, because how would you act if you knew you were not? How would you act if how would you act if you really just threw your might around, your weight around, like literally? They couldn't control that. And so everything that they had to do had to be to kind of minimalize you and reduce you, and stick you on these minimal jobs and not give you any type of feeling as though you're empowered, or you're a boss, or you are in control of a situation, because they can't risk what does that look like when you really rise up and believe that. So I seem to have lost my guys here. I hope you all come on back. Yeah, just let me know, guys. I don't know. Send me a text or what have you. Let me know. But the fact of the matter is, we literally, when we say Ukraine and Russia are in a war, we really are in a war, you all. We're in a war, and you just don't realize, because you're complicit to a system. You're complicit to a system. You're conditioned to be complicit. You're going to work every day. You're being underpaid and overworked every day. You're being exploited. You're paying the most in rent. The majority of us pay rent, and we pay the most for it. And someone challenged me. I put up a TikTok video the other day, and I was saying that 70% of the rental industry is upheld by us, and 70% of us rent. And someone said, "Oh, that number's kind of high. Like, where you get those numbers from?" Okay, let's talk about it. So the color of poverty, which of course is Black, they have us listed as 46 to 49% of rent, right? But what you all don't, what is not taken into consideration, this is the fact. What's not taken into consideration when we're having these conversations about the statistics behind that is there are people that are paying to live places that aren't on leases. So we're talking about undocumented. Y'all, when you talk about undocumented statistics, you literally get, it may even be more than 70%, you know, and I'm talking about people that, you know, are literally cohabiting with someone and they aren't technically renting, but they're living with someone. We're only 13% of the population. That's right, speak on it, Koja Malik. We're only 30% of the population, but we're paying how much of the rent? Exactly. We're only 13% of the population, but we're paying. That's also to how those numbers are very telling. That is more than, because how can 13% of the population be upholding almost 70% of the rental industry? Let's talk about it, because again, when we talk about things that are undocumented, we're talking about statistics. Statistics. We're talking about undocumented, just like undocumented. There are undocumented people in the United States that once, you know, when those numbers come in, that's really why they roll out those census. That's why they roll out those census, so they can really see how much funding they need in these particular areas. And you know what I thought of last night, y'all? What I thought of something mighty funny, mighty interesting. COVID happened right after the first round of the census numbers came back in. Can we drink to that? Can we mother freaking drink to that? COVID happened. The pandemic happened after the first wave of those numbers came back for the census. So to me, those numbers were very telling. And remember what also coincided during the pandemic, right? During the pandemic, where we're talking about, okay, people dying and whatnot. Look at all of those laws that started to get passed in regards to, abortion bans. Can we talk about it? So what was on those numbers in that first round? Because let me tell you what happened in the first round. As a person that is a person that was in city government, literally at the time that the census was taken, right? Let me tell you what I noticed. The first round was the mail out. Remember, the first round of the census is the mail out. They mail out the little letter. They have you fill it out. Boom. Bada bing, bada bing, bada bing, bada boom. You're supposed to be done, right? The second round are the home delivery, are the home visits. If you haven't filled out that census, they come into your house. That's why there's always such a pressure. There's such a campaign to make sure that you fill out that census in the first run, because you don't want nobody coming to your home and looking at your home situation. Correct? All right. And so the last round, it literally is the last round is they pay people to actually take that census. They pay people because they need the statistics. They need the numbers. They need the numbers to substantiate these reports that what they're getting funding for. So those are the 3 rounds of the census. If anyone would care to, like I said, don't believe me, go do your research. But the first round is the mail. The second is the house visits. The last round is bribery. They bribe people to take. They pay people to take those census. They're like, you ain't did the first. You ain't did this. We have a gift card. this is that. We got some resources. They pay them the last round. But the first round, usually, this is what did it, y'all. The first round is typically who? The first round typically of numbers that come back is usually elderly people because they're the ones sitting home. They're retired. Something came back in that first round that set off a red flag. Something came back in that first round that set off a red flag, and they were like, no. And I do not think it was the lack of how many they were getting back. I think that they got an overwhelming, me personally, I think they got an overwhelming response from Black people in this particular census. I think they got an overwhelming response in this first round. They got an overwhelming response, so they really could see, they really, because, Black people typically don't participate in the census. They don't participate in the census, and it be business as usual. This time, census, a pandemic shut the world down. Something came back in that first round. I don't know, but I don't know whether we were sitting at home or whether we had time today, but something came back in this first round of the census that there were some numbers that definitely weren't mathing. The math wasn't mathing, and they were just like, we got to figure some shit out real fast. So then the pandemic happened, and so there was not a home visit anymore. Everything was able to be, you could finish out the third round online. So it wasn't people going into these centers, which they usually do. They herd you into these welfare centers. And that's when they bribe you down with, well, how many people you got? They have people that actually will sit down with you. And I tell you what I know, because before I even worked in government, I was, you have to have a certain level of testing to be a person that does that last round. And when I was living in Broward County in Lauderhill, I tested high enough to be doing that last round. And that last round are people that are, and I'm not going to, I'm not just saying this to my own horn, but it's people that can be convincing and people that can be trusted, because that last round is, so how many people are living in the home? How many you're sitting down, they've come into the center, and it's a bribery. It's we're not going to put that on here. No, that doesn't have to be documented. We're just taking this information just for number's sake, but then they're able to continue to get a maximum amount of their resources. They continue to get cash benefits, even if they have a job. These type of things come down when people come to that center. When people come into that center, it puts the government or the Census Bureau at an advantage. It puts the person coming in at a disadvantage. But something happened. I will hold on to this belief until I'm no more here. Something happened in that first round that gave them a red flag. Something about that math wasn't mathing. So, and I do not think it was because it was a lack of participation from us, because traditionally we don't participate in the census. Traditionally, I think the exact opposite happened. I think that there was a big influx of Black people that had time, and they were filling that census out for whatever reason. It was making sense to them to do it this go round, and they really saw what numbers we have. And I think that on top of seeing those numbers, the fear is always the uniting. The fear is always the uniting from us. Because again, once those first round came in, pandemic happened, everything shut down. We can't collaborate. We can't be here or there. The other night on my TikTok live, if you all are not following, please follow me on TikTok. My mom did the census as employment while she was in nursing school. Right. And actually that third round too, they pay people to take the census. They pay people to take, so that they can have projections. And that's written actually in paperwork on the census, that, you know, let's say if you have lived in a neighborhood for whatever, you can fill this out as what you think with, you know, what's going on in your community. You can fill up to three or four. I put up 5, but up to 3 or 4. And it might have changed because, like I said, this was years ago. This was actually the previous census before this one that I was in. I want to say that I was being considered for. I was considering, rather. They had already offered me the job. The training was too intense, y'all. I mean, you had to be. They sequestered you for almost 3 straight days at this hotel conference center. Like you had to be sequestered, and you couldn't have. And I had, you know, 2 young children at the time, so I decided not to do it. I never went forward with it, but it was definitely an understanding that you know, this was not unusual for someone to fill out a census for someone, because again, this was Miami, so, you know, translation was a different thing, and because that was an issue that I had because I didn't speak any other language. And they said, no, it's fine. Family members fill it out for other family members all the time. And to me, I'm thinking, huh? That seems like that might be a little, you know, suspicious, right? But they were like, oh, no, that's expected. You know, it's okay that you can't speak English because family members fill out for families all the time. People in the community can fill it out for people in the community, you know, because there are people in the community where there might be an elderly a person that cannot, you know, is not coherent anymore. So one person can do up to 4 of those. One person can do up to 4 of those. Now, one person cannot do 4 census on themselves, but they can actually fill out paperwork for 3 other families, 3 other people. So that is not something that was uncommon. So we are closing down. We have a few minutes left in the broadcast. I have talked a lot. I want to thank everyone for participating in this live today. Brother Palmetto came with dropping. Palmetto said, "I'll take it in blood." Y'all see, I got on the scarlet hoodie. Let's go. Hello, because true independence, as Abraham Lincoln said, and I will also hold true to that. I have faced a lot of flack for that, but I will hold true to that to the day I also aspire from this particular realm that Abraham Lincoln wasn't wrong when he said that true equality is not ever going to be achieved by the Negro here in America, because that's not what we were brought here for. We weren't brought here to be no equal. Never. We were brought here to be exploited, and I mean every part of us to be exploited. From the head, from the brain to the mouth, to the bellies, the wombs, the privates, to the feet, to the backs. Every part of us was brought here to be exploited. And we are not just talking about a change of heart when we're talking about these people. This is a change of mindset. This is a change of mindset. This is a change of character. This is a change of, this is complete submission. And like, I think Brother Palmetto, what he said is very valid, because how were things achieved? Remember, how were things achieved in Oh, okay, you guys are back. Sorry about that. I got a call. Excuse me. But things were achieved in blood. People had to be sacrificed. You know, whether it was children, whether it was a virgin, whether it was like people had to be sacrificed. And I think that's how I know that the people that were enslaving us were not operating under Christian principles, because during Christ, that's what was supposed to be stopped, because remember, he died for all sins, so you no longer had to sacrifice people for all sins, right? You didn't have to sacrifice people so that we could get rain or we could get crops. You didn't have to sacrifice them anymore because I am sacrificing myself for all sins. And so that should have been it. So that's how I know for a fact that the people that enslaved us were not operating under a Christian standpoint, because you couldn't have been. You couldn't have been, and you read, and that's why there were parts of the Bible that were actually omitted that were given to slaves. We were given a different version of the Bible so that we wouldn't know these certain aspects of the Bible. So at any rate, we're closing out. Brother William, I want you to share with people where they can find you, how they can reach you, and what are you involved in, so that people can get inspired and excited about your projects as well. And we're going to be closing out. But thank you so much for participating this morning in the State of the Melanated Address. And of course, you all know MX Media Group will see you again next month.
Okay, so I wanted to add to one of your statements you were saying about what they were taking from us. You forgot organs and blood and all that other stuff too. So I just want to put that in there real quick. Yeah, organs, blood. So yeah, just about everything. I'm a separatist. I believe in separation. I believe separation is not only necessary, but it's an economic plan. It's a plan that we have to do economically. It's not just something we do physically. If we separate collectively, right, we have to be able to provide for ourselves and sustain or maintain the separation. So we say, let's separate. Let's not depend on this system, this government. We have to be able to have food, shelter, and all these other things to survive. So separation is an economic plan. So I think we should take that into perspective. But I think also too, I just want to add this, and I'll share where you can find me. But it's very important. Can you hear me? I think I'm froze. My video froze, but I don't know if I could be heard or not. I just go ahead and continue. It's very important that we have perspectives, especially our people. Can you hear me? Yeah, well, our perspective on things has to be okay. A lot of our people's perspectives has to be changed. So it has to be an education in not just knowledge, but perspective. Like for instance, law, anything that's law and related things like policy, rules, bylaws, anything relating to that, it dictates behavior. So if you realize that the enemy, whether it be government or whoever, he uses that to dictate our behavior. You can say, okay, now you're not allowed to do this. And that dictates you start moving in the way of the law. So automatically it dictates behavior. So it's very important that we look at law, policy, rules as a thing that dictates your behavior. So if I want to trick you and make up a law that says discrimination is against the law now, well, you might put it out there on paper, but then you have to put it out there so you can control us. So the discrimination law, after the civil rights movement went into effect, the bill was passed. Now discrimination is against the law. But guess what? That's the biggest lie ever told. They told that's a big lie. They say that. But in reality, discrimination is at its worst. We more discriminate than ever. And then, so we got to watch these laws that they make, because they try to get you, black man and woman, to control your behavior. That's what they do. When they make these laws, they're trying to control you. So it ain't about them. They're trying to say, well, how can we stop these folks coming together, uniting? Oh, let's create a law. Oh, you can't stay together, can't visit your family, put a mask on, stay 6 feet. It's a separation plan. It's in the law. So I just want to get that out, because a lot of times we look at things and we look at things like law lightly. These are the things that controls behavior, and they know it. The enemy is a great scientist. He studies you. He studies your habits. It's like the devil. That's what it is, be honest with you. If you really look at it, I say this to Christians all the time. If you really look at the definition, and I ain't saying white people are devils, I ain't saying the government's a devil, I ain't saying none of that. Look at the description yourself, Christian and Muslim for that matter. Look at the scriptures and how the scriptures define the devil or Satan. In that definition, you come to your own conclusion. I ain't got to tell you nothing on what devil is and who's the devil and what's evil and what ain't evil. Look at the scripture's description. Look at the scriptures and how it describes. Once you see that, you come to your own conclusion. Because I ain't got to be no target of truth. When truth is told and scriptures are read, look at it yourself. Anyway, I want to get that out. But anyway, I think the reparations topic, the platform of it is very important. It's an economic move, and it's a move for our people to come together economically. It's an economic plan. It's a plan for us to actually, understand our condition is economic related. Our situation, economic related. But an example is this. I had a dear friend of mine. I'm having, financial issues. So I'm trying to pay for certain things. And before I told my best dear friend, I said, man, I'm having problems right now. I'm not feeling well and blah, blah, blah. He said, man, you let me know anything I can help you with. You let me know. He came straight from his heart. Same thing my brother said, and my mother and my uncle. But when I told all three of them I need $850, they all walked away sad. So I'm saying, in so many words, it's so important for us to form economic agendas. We can save a penny a day as a people. We can save a penny a day as an organization. Whatever clique you with, and I hope it's an all-black clique, because that's what I click with. Whatever clique you with, start a treasury. Start a treasury saving a penny a day or a penny, and make that treasury into a legitimate treasury, like a penny club. This is things I'm opposing anyway for my organization, the Big Heart Housing. But anyway, it's so important that we see the economics in it. It's important how slavery and all these other things that's oppressing us has an economic nature to it. We don't look at it like that, but it's so clear. It's crystal clear that this man laying in the streets don't have a home or don't have food. It's economic based. So if he had economics, he'd have a home, food. Everything's economic. Everything we do is economic. Anyway, you can find me in my Big Heart Housing program on blackunity07@gmail.com. I'm trying to start this program where we actually, those who have big hearts, come together, unite, and start to actually do something about what's going on in our community. The poor that's laying in the streets, the homeless, the hungry, is mostly us. The insane, the in prison, is mostly us. When we look at the facts, it's more of us that are suffering in bad conditions than anybody else, than any other race in America. You have the Chinese, Japanese, the whites, and others. It's more of us in the worst conditions, right, in America. So what are we going to do about it? So big hearts are the ones who are going to take charge, who are going to do something and not just talk. So the first thing I'm going to be, if you connect with me and Courtney, is we're going to propose a treasury. We're trying to get our mission statement together where it's going to be dealing with helping our people and bettering the conditions in which we suffer in. I don't want to go too far too long. I do want to say thank you, Courtney, for inviting me on. You can again find me at my email, blackunity07@gmail.com. You can also connect with Courtney to find me. But at the same time, we have to come together in unity, and that unity has to be looked at as a science. There's got to be a science. There's got to be a way that we sit down and think, just like the enemy do. The enemy sat down and thought about you. What kind of people are these Negro? What were these blacks, these Africans? What they like? They sat down and scientifically figured out how to divide and conquer you. We got to do the same thing in reverse. We got to sit down and care for one another and figure out how we can scientifically unite and overcome. So that will be the the objection. That will be the opposite to what the enemy is trying to do for us or to us. Anyway, so again, contact Courtney Omega to get hold of me, as well as my email, blackunity07@gmail.com. Let's come together this time. I'm calling on all the big hearts. If you do have a big heart and you want to do something about it, connect with Courtney so we can connect and start getting this ball rolling. That's all I got. I'm sorry, it was wordy.
Absolutely. No problem, Brother William. And I appreciate you. I always say this and I never get tired of saying it that it has always meant so much to me that you have been a brother that I can rely on, depend on without any question or hesitation. Every woman needs someone in their corner they know they can call on and they're gonna be there. I always say with guns blazing. With guns
Wow.
blazing. And you have
Wow.
been so dependable. You've been so dependable. I'm so grateful to have known you and to just be able to call you brother. Thank you again.
Wow. Wow.
And
Yes.
I'm looking
Thank
very
you,
much
sister.
forward to our next Big Hearts Housing meeting. Again,
Yes.
you all, if you are interested in being involved with this initiative, what we are is we contend to be the help that the community of our culture needs without having to rely on government funding to get it, because that is a
Okay.
process that usually is it far extends what our community has immediate access to. And when
I see.
you are dealing with a situation of eviction and homelessness, you need immediate access to resources. And again,
Definitely.
what Brother Williams said is so true. We can't do that without having some type of economic infrastructure to be there for one another. We need to, and it's not hard for us to do because the average Black person spends over $100 outside of their budget every day. Not every
Mm.
week, not every month, every day. You spend $100 that you did not have. So if
Wow.
we can commit just $1 of that money to, hey, putting it towards initiatives like this, initiatives that will help get immediate shelter for people that are facing eviction, help get people immediate access to food resources, not having to wait 60 days for their food card to come in, or 30 days to be approved, 45 days to be approved. Come on, you all. When you have someone that's facing that type of situation, they need immediate resources. And this is what Big Hearts Housing does. We organize those resources so that we can be of immediate assistance without having to delay the process for our brothers and sisters with government. Last but not least, I'm going to ask everyone to please sign, go to change.org. The link is right there below. To change.org, claim Malcolm X Day worldwide. Please make sure, hey, Diamond Princess, haven't seen you in a minute. Hey, hey, hey. Make sure you sign that. Make sure you sign that petition to get Malcolm X's birthday declared an International Day of Recognition. No person in our history has ever had this honor, and I do know that it's high time for it. I also want to give a big invite to anyone in the Atlanta area. I'm having a special colored only brunch on this upcoming Monday, March 7th. As you all know, that is my 1-year anniversary for the Colored Only Cafe pop-up. So if you're in Atlanta, please, if you are local to Atlanta, please go ahead and send me a little message. I would love to have you come on out and do a little tasting and participate in the networking brunch. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're having some very interesting people be involved, and I am looking forward to sharing my food with people that have supported the Colored Only brand and the Colored Only Cafe's endeavors over this past year. So that includes you too, Brother William, if you're available, of
Okay.
course. But at any rate, I know catching you during the week is always a unique situation, but I definitely enjoy being able to feed you when I can. I do not mind serving you because again, I serve no man. I serve no man. Okay? I serve kings and queens. Ashe. And with that being said, thank you all for coming on in. Keep your X's up and get that glow up by any means necessary.